The courtroom smelled of old
We need to discuss the terms of the agreement and come to a mutual understanding.
But I'm concerned about the best
single
allocation.
Father took toward the defense table felt like walking into a storm he knew he would lose. His hands trembled, not because he
Your
feared
Honor,
the law, but
the
because his
evidence
ex-wife sat
clearly
across the room
demonstrates.
with the smile sharp enough to cut him open in front of strangers. She was dressed perfectly, confident, surrounded by lawyers and whispered approval, while he stood alone, worn down by years of trying to survive after everything had fallen apart. He never imagined that the place meant to decide justice would become the stage for his deepest humiliation, and no one in that room, not even him, expected that the woman sitting quietly in the back row, his aging mother with tired eyes and folded hands, would be the one to change everything. Before this story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people who never stop loving, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. He had once been someone with dreams, the kind of man who worked hard, laughed easily, and believed that love could survive anything. But after the divorce, life narrowed into survival mode. His days revolved around his young daughter, early mornings, long shifts, and sleepless nights. His ex-wife had moved on quickly, into comfort, money, and influence, while he stayed behind with responsibility and quiet exhaustion. When she took him to court, she framed it as concern for their child, but every word she spoke dripped with resentment and superiority. She painted him as incompetent, unstable, and unworthy, presenting a carefully edited version of his life that made him look small and broken. The judge listened as evidence was presented, documents shuffled, and accusations laid bare. The father sat there, shoulders slumped, heart pounding, feeling exposed. His ex-wife's legal team highlighted every missed payment, every late pickup, every moment when he had struggled financially. They ignored the nights he skipped meals so his daughter could eat, the overtime shifts that drained his body, and the way he carried guilt like a second skin. In that courtroom, struggle looked like failure, and sacrifice looked like weakness. As the hours passed, the humiliation deepened. His ex-wife watched him with a look that mixed triumph and disdain, as if she were finally proving that she had always been right to leave him behind. Every time his name was spoken, it sounded like a verdict. He felt invisible, reduced to a list of shortcomings. The weight of shame pressed on his chest so heavily that breathing became an effort. He wondered if his daughter would one day believe these lies, if she would grow up thinking her father was nothing more than what the court records said. In the back of the courtroom sat his mother, a woman who had known hardship long before he was born. Her hands were rough from decades of work, her back slightly bent, her hair streaked with gray earned through sacrifice. She had raised him alone after his own father passed away early, teaching him honesty, resilience, and compassion. She rarely spoke in public and never sought attention. That day, she wore her best coat, worn at the edges but carefully pressed, and she listened to every word spoken about her son as if each one landed on her heart. When it came time for the father to speak, his voice barely carried. He tried to explain himself, to give context to his struggles, but his words felt clumsy and small against the polished accusations. He could feel the room losing patience with him. Even the judge's expression showed restraint more than empathy. It seemed inevitable that he would lose custody, lose dignity, and perhaps lose the last thing that gave his life meaning. That was when something unexpected happened. His mother slowly stood up from her seat. The movement was quiet, but it shifted the air in the room. She did not rush. She did not look angry. She looked determined, the way she had looked years ago when she worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. The judge hesitated, surprised, and allowed her to step forward. She did not raise her voice or point fingers. She spoke with the calm strength that came from a lifetime of endurance. She explained to her son was before the courtroom labels, before the divorce, before the exhaustion. She spoke of a boy who helped neighbors without being asked, a young man who stayed by her side through illness, and a father who shows responsibility over comfort when walking away would have been easier. She acknowledged his flaws without defending them away, but she placed them within the reality of survival. not neglect. She described the nights she watched him come home exhausted, still taking time to help his daughter with homework, still finding energy to listen to her dreams. She spoke about the moments he broke down in private, ashamed of not being able to give more, yet never giving up. Her words were not rehearsed, they were raw, honest, and deeply human. The courtroom, once filled with judgment, grew silent. Then she did something no one expected. She revealed that much of the financial strain used against him had roots far deeper than the divorce. Medical bills from her illness years ago, debts he had taken on to keep her alive, sacrifices he never spoke about because he believed love did not need an audience. She made it clear that he had chosen to carry those burdens quietly, never asking his ex-wife for help, never using them as excuses. As she spoke, the image of the father shifted. He was no longer just a struggling man with missed payments. He became a son, a caregiver, a human being doing his best under impossible pressure. Even his ex-wife's confident posture faltered. The room could no longer see him as a convenient villain. The judge listened intently, no longer checking the clock. The lawyers stopped interrupting. The truth, once spoken plainly, had a way of demanding respect. When his mother finished, she returned to her seat slowly, her hands trembling now. The weight of what she had carried finally released. The courtroom felt different after that. The father sat frozen, tears burning behind his eyes, ashamed that his mother had to defend him, but also overwhelmed by gratitude. For the first time that day, he felt seen. The judge asked questions that showed understanding rather than suspicion. The narrative shifted from punishment to balance, from humiliation to fairness. In the end, the ruling did not magically erase his struggles, but it rose towards something far more important. He retained custody arrangements that honored his role as a father. The court acknowledged his efforts and sacrifices. His ex-wife, forced to confront a fuller truth, sat silently, her earlier triumph gone. Outside the courtroom, life did not suddenly become easy. Bills still existed, work was still exhausting, but something inside him had changed. He walked out with his mother beside him, her arm linked through his, and for the first time in years, his shoulders felt lighter. He realized that dignity was not something the court had given back to him. It was something that had never truly been taken away. At home that evening, when his daughter hugged him tightly, he understood what victory really meant. It was not about winning against his ex-wife. It was about standing up in truth, about love that speaks when silence would be easier, about a mother who refused to let her child be reduced to his worst moments. If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment right now to comment and tell us where you are watching from, or simply write the single word that describes how this made you feel. As time passed, the father slowly rebuilt his life with renewed strength. He worked not just to survive, but to heal. His mother's courage became a quiet reminder that even when the world misunderstands you, someone knows the truth of who you are. And sometimes, that is enough to change everything. Near the end of your day, when you think about this story, remember that behind every struggling person is a history you may never see, and behind every act of quiet endurance is a love powerful enough to stand in a courtroom and rewrite a fate. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of someone you love, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive, and your support means more than you know.